It's Ash from Super Videos, back for another video for Season 6 of Fear the Walking Dead. In this video, we're going to be taking a look at a pretty major storyline we're going to most likely see for the rest of the season of Season 6 of Fear. This is something that was heavily speculated by fans in the fandom, but we weren't too sure about it. But obviously, based on the trailer for the next episode, Season 6, Episode 13, which is called JD, and also based on some articles that have come out in the last few days, it's been confirmed that this theory is actually accurate. This storyline is what I call the Mortician serial killer storyline, which involves two big characters, or there's two big characters at the center of the storyline. One of them has a very close connection to John Dorie, and the other one is actually the leader of the new villains that we're seeing in the second half of Season 6, who are called the End is the Beginning cult. Their leader, of course, is Teddy. So stay tuned, we'll be right back, and I'm gonna explain this whole storyline and we're gonna break it all down. Alright, as always, before we jump into this, if you're not a subscriber and enjoy the content by the end, consider subscribing to join our community, share and smash the like button, and press the bell to be notified when we upload. So with that said, let's dive right into it. In order to explain this storyline the right way, we actually have to step back and go back to the previous seasons of Fear the Walking Dead. There was this scene where we had John Dorie himself talking to Rabbi Jacob about his father. He revealed that his father was a police officer, he was a detective, and there was a time period where his father was actually after a serial killer that was a mortician. His father was actually able to catch this serial killer. He did not have enough evidence to put him away. In order to be able to put the serial killer away, John Dorie's father actually ended up framing this guy and putting him in prison. And that was the end of that theory until the teaser for this next episode came out. Season 6, Episode 13, which is also called JD, which could stand for June Dorie, John Dorie, or possibly John Dorie Sr. Of course, John Dorie Sr. is John Dorie's father. He's the detective that was after the serial killer. Now, if we take a look at the sneak peek and the teaser for this next episode, we can see that June breaks into this RV and she faces this older gentleman. She points a gun to his head, and that's where this guy actually asks June where she got the gun. That obviously tells us he saw something that he recognized. Now, if we look at the gun, or John Dorie's gun, we can actually see that it has an initial on it that says JD. And I'm assuming that this is exactly what the older gentleman recognized. There's two ways this could go. Either this was actually a gun that John Dorie's father, John Dorie Sr., gave to him as a little boy and put the initial on it, or it was actually John Dorie Sr.'s gun. Regardless of whose gun this is, the important part is that this older gentleman recognized the gun. And based on articles that have come out, it's revealed that this older gentleman is actually John Dorie Sr. himself. So that means that June is actually looking at John Dorie Sr. So that's pretty awesome stuff. Now, before we actually move on to the next thing, which is the connection to the End is the Beginning cult, let's step back a little bit. What we learned based on teasers and the sneak peek of this next episode is that June breaks into this RV. What she finds in this RV is a board with a huge map on it and pictures, as well as articles and missing people's notices pinned to the board. Now, one of the pictures that's pinned to the board is a picture of a barn with the spray painted message, "The End is the Beginning." Obviously, the end is the beginning is the message that the End is the Beginning cult leaves out. So this is areas that they pretty much mark as their own. Something of that nature. It could even be areas that they mark where they want to destroy at some point. I'm not going to get into that too much because that's a whole different discussion on its own. But what is important is that whoever this RV belongs to is definitely extremely interested in this cult called The End is the Beginning. And if you take a look at the board, it definitely looks like a board that a detective or an ex-detective would create. Obviously, the owner of the RV is John Dorie Sr., or we're assuming at this point. Now, that's not everything that's on the board. What June also finds on the board is, like I said, these notices of missing people and also these newspaper articles of a serial killing that happened. There is even a particular newspaper article that has the title Mortician Gets Life. We can pretty much put the pieces of the puzzle together. So John Dorie Sr., John Dorie's father, was able to frame this Mortician serial killer and put him away in prison for life. And obviously, when the world fell, the Mortician serial killer was able to get out. And at some point, he actually created a cult, which he called The End is the Beginning. Now skip forward to the current time, we actually have John Dorie Sr. finding these different messages that say the end is the beginning. And being an ex-detective is curious to find out what this is all about. We don't necessarily know at this point whether John Dorie Sr. knows that The End is the Beginning group are led by Teddy, who's the Mortician serial killer or not, but at this point, at the very least, he's definitely very curious to learn more about this group and see what they're all about. Now, what's also very interesting is that Teddy, who used to be a mortician, would be able to do the things that we saw done to the walkers in season 6 episode 11, which was called The Holding. Obviously, we saw these walkers with their lips sealed, so The End is the Beginning crew were embalming them, which is something that I'm pretty sure Teddy would know a thing or two about, given that he was a mortician before the apocalypse. So that's also a very interesting connection and something that puts more weight into this theory, which is again at this point not a theory, it's confirmed, but the pieces of the puzzle are definitely all coming together nicely at this point. Now what's also interesting is that if we take a look at the newspaper article again, which had the picture of the Mortician serial killer, we can see that it actually looks like a younger Teddy. So that's another big clue or big reveal that connects the dots even more. Now when June finds these documents, she probably doesn't know that the person that put these pictures and newspaper articles up is John Dorie Sr. or John Dorie's father. But I'm assuming that she's gonna find out right here when John Dorie Sr. asks her about the gun. So I'm pretty sure that that's gonna start the conversation, which is gonna lead to June finally realizing who she's talking to. But that's pretty much everything that I wanted to cover in this particular explained video. Again, very cool stuff. I'm definitely extremely interested to see what they're gonna do with John Dorie Sr. and Teddy, whether we're gonna see them coming face to face at some point or not. And also, I'm definitely extremely interested to see what John Dorie Sr. is going to do. Will he join the survivors in fighting back against Teddy and his crew and their destructive master plan or not? And also, it's going to be extremely interesting to see whether John Dorie Sr. is a short-term character or whether he's going to join the cast and become a prominent member of Morgan's group. So that's going to be extremely interesting to see. Now, as cool as all of that is, and as exciting as it is, and as awesome as it is to kind of put these pieces of the puzzle together, something I do want to mention is how disappointed I am at this point because of what they did with John. I mean, how awesome would it have been to either see John Dorie himself reuniting with his father to bring down the Mortician serial killer, something that John Dorie as a kid watched his dad do. Now, even if they didn't have a storyline where John Dorie Sr. shows up or anything of that nature, if John still survived, they could have done something very interesting where John actually finds out who Teddy is and helps in killing him and bringing down the cult that he's built, something that his father would be very proud of. So I think that any way you look at it, it's very disappointing that they killed John Dorie right before this massive storyline that has John Dorie at the center of it, if you think about it. But with all of that said, I'm definitely very interested to know everyone's thoughts and opinions about this storyline. Do you like this storyline or not? And also, do you think that it would have been a lot better if John Dorie actually survived and was himself a part of this storyline? So share your thoughts and opinions down in the comment section below. If you're not a subscriber and enjoy the content, subscribe to join our community and press the bell to be notified when we upload. That's it for this video. See you next time for another super video.